We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Monday, August 19th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
And Fabio Gonzalez.
Hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Now, both the readers speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Like always, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online. Thailand's king officially endorsed Paetongtarn Shinawatra, the daughter of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, as the country's new prime minister on Sunday. At 37 years old, Paetongtarn has become Thailand's youngest prime minister and the second woman to hold the position. The approval came just days after her predecessor, Seta Thavisin, was ousted by the Constitutional Court for breaching ethics rules by appointing to the cabinet a lawyer who had previously served time in prison. Moving on, South Korea's exports of processed rice products, including frozen kimbap, instant rice, and rice cakes, reached a record high for any January to July period this year. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs, the total export value of these products soared to $166 million, an increase of nearly 46% compared to the same period last year. If this momentum continues, the annual export value could surpass last year's record of $217 million. The ministry attributed this surge to growing international demand for home meal replacements and gluten-free foods. Finally, new survey results indicate that younger generation is calling for significant reforms to the National Pension Service in Korea to ensure they receive their pension benefits in the future. According to the polling agency Corestat on Sunday, the most common reason cited by those in their 20s and 30s for supporting pension reform is the desire to secure future payments when they reach retirement age. This concern contrasts sharply with the top reason given by respondents in their 50s who are more focused on addressing the fiscal instability of the current system. Under the existing framework, individuals aged 18 to 59 who earn an income are required to contribute 9% of their earnings to the pension fund. Now, based on previous pension reforms, individuals currently in their 20s and 30s who contribute to the system for at least 10 years can expect to receive 40% of their average income from the 3 years leading up to their retirement once they turn 65. So here in the studio, I want to ask our panelists who are part of the younger generation, why is the younger generation so anxious about the possibility of their pension funds running out?
Well, as the oldest member of one of the oldest members of this panel, I do worry about my pension running out. I mean, I put enough in to maybe keep me for a good couple of years, but I can't imagine living off my pension for the rest of my life after retirement, which is scary. It is good that the government does give a lot of benefits to the pensioners, like free public transportation, but compared to the past, we live in a different economy. That is like seeing a higher inflation without any pay raise. I honestly don't know what we are going to do, but I think that, you know, due to the aging society as well, these are some problems that are, you know, people like me, people like anyone who's younger than me as well, are worrying about when it comes to retirement and their pension.
Right, because we're seeing more number of the older generation. So if there are more older people, they're going to get their retirement funds,
yes,
which means that there is a lower possibility of us, the younger generation, to get our pension money in the future when we become part of the senior population.
Right.
So this is the reason why the pension system and the call for pension reform is increasing here in Korea. Now, Fabio, I want to ask the situation in Spain. Does Spain also have a public pension system? And how does it work? And is the younger generation in Spain also worried about their pension money running out?
Well, I would say that the system is pretty similar with South Korea. It's basically founded by a payroll tax on the salary. And Spain is also just as South Korea, a country with a high life expectancy. We also have a low fertility rate, and the population is basically an age population. This means that most of the contributors to these taxes are basically middle-aged people, and most of the young people, the young generation, is mostly focused on getting a stable job, which is hard these days. And I feel like in 30 years, probably most of these middle-aged workers are probably going to retire, and that means that most of the burden is going to be on the young generation. I feel like this is a point that does concern the young people, but for the record, I think most of the young generation is mostly focused on just getting a stable job.
But I think they're becoming more worried as they age, reach the retirement age. Now, the Korean government is set to announce its latest reform to the National Pension Service late this month or earlier next month, so we'll have to see see what kind of changes are going to be made. And that was our news feed for this Monday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day by taking a look at the screen.
In recent years, personal mobility vehicles, such as electric kickboards and throttle-driven e-bikes, have increasingly taken over Korea's roads. According to Korea's road traffic law, these vehicles include those with one or more wheels, a single seat, and an electric motor, with a maximum speed of 25 kilometers per hour and a weight of 30 kilograms or less. Their rise has sparked growing concerns about their safety and need for regulation. Recently, BTS member Suga was involved in an incident where he drove an electric scooter under the influence of alcohol. Although it was later clarified that the scooter he used didn't technically qualify as a personal mobility vehicle, the incident still highlighted the ongoing safety issues associated with these vehicles.
Right, so these personal mobility vehicles, PM vehicles for short, have become particularly popular among the younger generation, offering a fast and convenient way to get around. So I want to first ask our panelists, do you also use these vehicles regularly? How about the people around you?
I don't use them regularly, and I have never ridden one of these electric scooters or bikes before, so I did a little bit of research for the show.
Wow.
And before today's show, I went and signed up to use them.
Wow, how dedicated.
And yes, I have to say that I am converted and I want to use them more often, though my wife strictly asks me not to use the scooters ever again because
Is there a reason?
are very, very dangerous. That's the reason why. However, I never realized, look at me go. Look how much fun I'm having.
You seem like
that's
a
the
very
face
good
of someone
driver.
who's having a lot of fun, not serious at all. I'm terrified, by the way. That is going really fast for me. I never realized how many rules actually you had to follow by
Right.
riding these forms of transportation. There are tons of rules. People around me, they don't really use them because they either live outside of Seoul and they work within Seoul. But if they're just getting around, I guess they might use them. So it doesn't really work out for them or for me. But I really want to have an excuse to use them again. I, even bought a nice little helmet just for that day, and I want to use it again. But unfortunately, my wife has nagged me not to use them.
Walter's wife, please don't watch today.
Yes,
Or
not going
you're
to
in
use
big
them
trouble.
again.
Well, just like Walter, I've never ridden these electric kickboards, which are often known as electric scooters in other parts of the world. So it was actually my first time trying out this electric kickboard. It was really scary because I didn't know that 25 kilometers, which is a speed limit, could go that fast.
Yes.
And I also agree with you that there are a lot of rules because you must wear a helmet, you have to ride these vehicles on the designated bicycle roads. So a lot of rules that that the drivers of these PM vehicles have to abide to. Now, to you, Fabio, have you ever ridden these vehicles?
Actually, not really. I think the only one that I tried are the hoverboards, which are not really available for public use that much. I love riding bicycles, so I would definitely want to try this kind of like electric bicycles. I never use the scooters though. But I definitely think that it would be pretty fun. I would like to try it, but I think that a lot of young people will agree. The system can be a little bit confusing at times. You don't really know what you need to prepare, and also at the same time, it feels a little bit inconvenient or even situational. It feels like you need to be in the specific road. It doesn't seem like a vehicle you can ride anywhere, right? And also like the speed thing seems a little bit dangerous at times, right? So maybe for a more calm place, it could be a good option, but definitely not a vehicle that I would consider for a day-by-day transportation method.
I see. Now, talking about safety concerns, while these vehicles have become increasingly prevalent in Korea, they've also led to a rise in related accidents in recent years, becoming a significant concern, right, Walter?
That's correct, and yes, without stereotyping any generation, can you guess which generation is most prone to accidents? Well, let's take a look at the screen to see. Well, it turns out that the under 20s top the accidents with 32.4%, with people in their 20s 32.1%. People in their 30s like me, we are pretty safe, 14.7%. And the obviously other generations that are older, they make up, the baby boomers, etc. 20.8%. So I'm not surprising to see this statistic, to be honest with you. Most of the people I see on them are people either in their 20s or under their 20s.
Right, so our generation seems to be the primary user of these vehicles because they account for 70% based on the graph that you've shown, right?
Yes, that's sorry.
Right. So I want to ask you, Fabio, we always want to know about the causes behind what's triggering this high number and increase of accidents. So do you think this is due to a lack of necessary regulations or some other reasons?
Probably. I feel like the current legislation does leave the door open for a lot of problems. For example, drunk driving or driving without a license. I feel like Walter also talked about the system not being clear enough about really showing your credentials, right? And at the same time, I feel like obviously this kind of self-responsibility is important, but we also need to take into account that there's not that many infrastructure designed for this kind of vehicles. Maybe there's no specific type of paths that are designed to use these vehicles.
Other than the bicycle roads, right?
Exactly. You would either have to use these bicycle roads, just the plain road, or also maybe the pedestrian path, which could be very dangerous at some times, right? And then just to clear it up, I feel like we don't really know that much about this kind of vehicles. So for example, a lot of them, like the scooters, they have a very sensitive battery. So that means that overcharging it or not charging it correctly or making a very extreme use of it could also lead it to it exploding or catching fire. And this happened in Barcelona, where a lot of cases of fires and explosions actually led to the city to ban these scooters on public spaces, like for example, subways.
Oh, I see. So it's definitely becoming a growing safety concern, not only here in Korea, but in other parts of the world. So much so that cities like Paris, France, and Melbourne, Australia have decided to even ban rental or shared electric scooters, which once again we know as electric kickboards here in Korea. So to our panelists, what are your thoughts on this decision?
Well, listen, you and I have talked about this briefly before about my thoughts. Though I'm now converted, I do really like them. I still think that they have to be more strict when it comes down to the rules and regulations of it. As Fabio mentioned some really good points just before, like infrastructure, etc. You know, even though I've signed up to use them, it was very interesting the way that they didn't really ask for me to put in my license, even though by law you're supposed to have a license. So it wasn't compulsory for me to put it in, but it's compulsory by law. So I don't know how that works. So I really think they need to be stricter with these laws and rules. But when it comes to using any of these sort of electric mobility scooters. But like I said last time we talked about this, I feel like I'm repeating myself. It seems like I'm talking to a wall when it comes to changes on these scooters and bikes. I really think, we'll talk about it a bit later, that things need to change.
Right, because by law you need to have a moped license or a driver's license to be able to operate this vehicle. But in reality, the businesses or the companies that operate these PM vehicles, they are not mandated by law to verify the driver's license or the moped license of the driver. So this is definitely an area that needs to be looked into and needs improvement. What are your thoughts on this, Fabio?
I feel like if Korea wants to keep these e-scooters specifically in the streets, it might look up to some cities like Copenhagen in Denmark, which actually provided the same service for a few years, but because of the big amount of e-scooters and the high rate of accidents, they actually had to ban it in 2020. But then they brought it back in 2021 with some new regulations and a more safe background. And I feel like it might be working since they didn't really ban it again. I'm not really sure about the opinion of the citizens, but I think that this could be an option, you know, making some stricter regulations and maybe building necessary infrastructure so that it could be more safe and sustainable.
Right. So I think there is kind of like a common consensus among us that safety regulations regarding these vehicles need to be strengthened. Now, to look at the situation in other parts of the world, we also asked our viewers if they're seeing a lot of personal mobility vehicles on the streets in their countries and what their thoughts are on these vehicles. And here is what 3 of them said. So if we look at the comments, LeonTeo93 says PM devices have seen a surge in popularity in Singapore due to their convenience and affordability. However, numerous accidents involving PMDs, including fatal ones, have raised concerns about public safety. Also, the government has struggled to effectively regulate them due to their rapid proliferation. SunnyJ99 says personal mobility is getting more popular because it's convenient and helps us move around without having our own car, which is expensive. However, I think strict and clear regulations are required regarding these devices as there are more accidents happening. BennyD97 says here in the Philippines, we are considering having it, and I do that we need to study about the details of how it will affect our society. So we've taken a look at our viewers' comments. Now, for more insights on the reasons behind the PM vehicle boom and what kind of regulations might be necessary, we're now going to invite an expert to our talks right after this break. So today we're joined by Moon Young-jun, a professor at the Global Commercialization Center at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Welcome, Professor Moon, to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Great, I'm great. Hope you are great as well. Happy Monday.
Thank you for inviting me.
Lovely to have you. So our first question for you, Professor Moon, is how were personal mobility vehicles first introduced to Korea, and what do you think has contributed to their rapid rise in popularity?
Yes, as you mentioned in the before that this kind of mobility, the service is typically for the young generation. Okay, so the main purpose of this mobility services is that how we can change the mode share, typically from the personal vehicles, personal vehicle to the shared one. Okay, in order to reduce our traffic congestion in the road, as well as in order to the traffic safety problems on the road. And one more thing is in order to save our globe in terms of because we are facing on climate change issues. That's the main purpose. But it's not this personal mobility is not going for taking the mode for the long distance. It's only in the short and medium distance, you can provide something, okay, for the people. That's why the Seoul Metropolitan, they introduced the mobility services from the year 2010, I believe. Okay, that's because as you remember, year 2007, France in Paris, they introduced Believe, okay, so shared the bicycles on the city. That's why the Seoul Metropolitan 3 years later, they are trying to get some kind of test trial. We introduced this kind of mobility services in Seoul Metropolitan. Okay, so but actually at this moment, electric the bicycle or electric kickboard, they have more than 45,000 the devices, and also in a small Sejong city. I'm living in Sejong City. And you know the Sejong City, right?
Yes.
The Sejong City, we have more than 4,000 devices, to be provided for the people. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, Professor. That's a very good insight. We're running a little bit out of time, but why do you think there are growing calls for strengthening regulations on these vehicles?
Yes, the definitely safety problems. Okay, so actually, in case of if you're running the electric kickboard running over 25 kilometers per hour, how do you feel? So dangerous. Okay. So I just typically in spring and the fall the season, I try to take the electric kickboard to the commute to our research institute from the few years later. I just taking my helmet and also I'm taking the bicycle road, not the vehicle road, okay, not the motorway, but because the Sejong city take a regulation of the electric kickboard is running on the bicycle road, okay. If you don't have any bicycle road on your way, you have to take the motorways. Okay, but you have to take the helmet. Okay, and also but Sejong City from the last year, they just trying to reduce the speed limit of the electric kickboard, reduced to the 20 kilometers per hour, not to 25. Okay, so this kind of the regulation is pretty much related to how fast you are moving on. Okay, and because the carelessness on because you take the electric kickboard, then some younger people, they have to watch YouTube on their mobile phone, okay, while they're driving. Okay, it's very dangerous in case. So
Right.
that's why I strongly believe in case of we want to strengthen this regulation is that how we try to make make the safety of we say the vulnerable users. Okay, this VLU, how we can protect the VLU on the safe on road, okay, as well as safe on the driving. Okay, this is what we are making some kind of some promoting because we have to promote this new mobility. Okay, it's not for the selling the personal vehicles as well. We have to promote this new mobility as as alternative for the future for the young generation.
Right. Professor, I think you just answered our third question, our last question as well. So thank you so much for your valuable insights today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So so just in case, I'm gonna stress something. If you are making some more detailed rules of regulations on the electric or personal mobility, I don't think it's gonna be good way. So instead, you have to provide some kind of safe road. Okay. For example,
Right.
you can go to Paris. The around the Seine River, the 4-lane road, they have to cut down the 2-lane road for the vehicle. The other 2 lanes, one of each lane, is for the vulnerable road user moving lanes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. When you go to the Netherlands, Amsterdam,
Oh,
you can
Professor,
see
I'm so sorry, but we're currently running out of time. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, all right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
This is
Thank
what
you
I
so
want
much.
to know. We have to provide some more infrastructure. Okay. For the
Definitely
safety.
more infrastructure. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Professor
Thank you
Moon.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we hope our discussion today on PM vehicles help you know more about the vehicles and what kind of regulations are needed moving on. And that's all from us today, but Newsden will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Walter Lee
Lovely to be here.
and Fabio Gonzalez.
A pleasure.
And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.